No. Okay, that's not her. I thought so.
No, some guy going in there. Hello, Katie. Do we have to wait to 15 for Kathy, or? No, because we have 4. Okay.
Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Rolla. Resolved that the special meeting commence at the hour of 1 p.m. And be it further resolved that Council acknowledges that we are meeting in the Robinson Superior Treaty Area on lands that have been traditionally used by several Indigenous nations. But we would like to pay special recognition to our closest Indigenous neighbours, the communities of Bittigawn, Nishinabik, and Vic Beaufort First Nations. We wish to recognize the long history of the First Nations and Métis people in our region specifically and show respect to them today. All in favor? I'll call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure in your interest? Seeing none. Moved by Councillor Scapanello, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? There are no delegations or presentations, so we'll move to the business of the draft.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Staff are very pleased to be able to present to you today the first draft of the 2022 operating budget. The budget is coming forward a bit earlier than it has in previous years for simply the reason that because there is an election this year, Council won't be able to make any decisions that affect the budget once the nomination period opens on May the 2nd. So we would like to see the budget approved before the end of April. So we've given a month to review the budget, provide direction to staff, do some public consultation, and then bring the budget back to Council on April 21st for final review. If we can't come to an agreement at that point, then we'll schedule another meeting towards the end of April in order to meet our deadlines. I'd like to ask Chris to come to the table and do an overview of the budget and what we have planned for 2022 and what that will look like for the ratepayers. And of course, we are very eager to get your questions and provide answers to you.
Should be rather pleased as presented, looking at a zero increase 2022 taxation year with the revenue fund transfer to capital of almost $700,000 and revenue fund contributions to reserves at $796. With the zero tax increase, you had the draft operating and capital budgets. I think the best being presented with a zero tax increase. If any questions were had by any councillors towards any manager, CEO, Mr. Crane, or myself.
Okay.
You can go by department. Bridge to capital, just take the bottom line, we'll leave it in your hands.
There, through you, Mr. Chair, there are a couple of areas that we would like to discuss with council to receive further direction and clarification. We can talk about those first, if you like, or as we go through each department budget, they'll come up. So,
Through the chair, do we go through page by page here, or what do you want to do?
sure, we can go page by page, is really department by department. So the first page is a summary of the operating budget. And each department starts on the page where it outlines council's budget, which is about page 5. Sorry, it's not numbered. Page 3. Here we go. So it really is remaining unchanged from 2021, with the exception of elections, because this is an election year. We did bring to council a request to transfer $20,000 into this account to cover the costs of the online and mail-in voting.
Which page are you on?
3, council and elections.
Okay. Through the chair, I have a question. I mean, if you go through on the councillors, why are there some spots blank, like the 2020 actual for myself, and then the 2021 actual for Councillor Scapanello? Like, I don't understand why there would be blanks there.
There were no actual charges. Within COVID, there was no travel.
But there was for others?
Well, Mayor McEachran attended some online training sessions.
Okay.
The next page is housing.
Through the chair, could I just get clarification on what the other is, please?
That's the other.
Mhm.
Derek, you want to speak to that? No, under housing, other. There is nothing budgeted for 2022 under other. So is your question the 2021 actual?
Yes, because there's a big difference there. I just wondered what the term other in that case actually means, what specifically it was for.
We'll look at GL on that one.
Okay, thank you.
So when it goes from wired to Wi-Fi. No, so that was for the corner, the MTO contract for the products.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to administration.
Councillor Hudson, we don't see any expenses in the 2022 budget, as that is under economic development.
So as you'll notice, under revenues for 2022, we have approximately $1.2 million coming in as revenue. The bulk of that being trailer lot rental, other revenue, and land sales. I don't have my glasses with me. I have to hold it back here.
Through the chair, what was the other revenue?
Chris, can you answer
The
that?
other services, $750. Oh, that was for
No.
the wedding services, the marriage services in-house.
No, I think they're
No.
talking about
The
51.
476.
Oh, the 466, that's all our grants. That's OSIFA, the NORDS, OSIFA, NORDS, and there's another grant that's going into there.
Okay, thank you.
And for land sales, we've already surpassed $300,000 in land sales this year already, and anticipate another 250 before the end of the year.
Very good.
Through the chair. So administration expenses for the computer and material supplies, could just get clarification on that, please?
So that is all office computers, laptops, tablets, servers, software. We have our accounting software, we have our Microsoft Office software, our security software. We now have iCompass, which we're using for our council meetings and meetings, etc. There's a number of those.
So these are just all like annual subscriptions to these
They're annual
services?
subscriptions, and we live in an electronic world nowadays, so without our computers,
Yes.
and I'm well aware of what that's like, so.
Okay.
Okay. Through the chair, the taxes written off, that's quite the hike from 2020 to 2021. Is that coming to?
We're caught up, almost caught up. There was, last year we had 16 tax sales that were long overdue, so there was a substantial amount of property tax write-offs. We did fortunately sell a few of them last year, which was great. But the new tax collection methods and practices have significantly reduced the amount of tax write-offs we're going to see moving forward.
Okay, so that's the bulk of it.
Yeah, there are some uncontrollables. There are people that families, there are people that become destitute, there are people that die with no wills. Like there is some stuff that is deemed uncollectible, unfortunately, but I'm not expecting to see $500,000 ever again.
Okay, perfect, good answer.
Excuse me.
Through the chair, I was just wondering, for the professional fees for consulting, like in 2020 it was 92,000, and in 2021 it was 26. So what are these consultations regarding, and why are you anticipating that much?
Well, some of those come from, a lot of those come from integrity commissioners.
Okay.
Costs.
Oh, that's where that, is it?
So we pay a flat rate to them to be our integrity commissioner, but then every time there is a complaint, there is a review and or an investigation, and that is in addition to our flat rate. And they bill by the hour.
Through the chair, I'm on page 7. Unless someone has a page 6 question.
No.
The fire expenses personnel, I was just wondering what that is. Was from 820 to 3,500.
That would be, personnel would be internal, like say gloves, shirts, uniforms, etc.
And moving down through the chair, pagers and radios. So we spent $8,200 in 2020, and there's a requirement for another $7,000 this year.
Through the chair, we need to purchase some new radios as well as new pagers, just due to the increase in number of firefighters. We don't have enough pagers right now to equip all of our new firefighters with a pager, so we need to purchase some.
Okay.
And through the chair, also in the fire expenses, the training and development. I know when you started, you said that there was going to be an upgrade to a lot of that. I'm assuming that's where this jump is coming from?
Yes, through the chair. So the mandatory certification that I had addressed council about roughly a month ago is being signed into legislation on Monday. And so as of July 1st of this year, every fire department will have minimum standards that they have to meet that are going to be set out by the province. And so the increase in the training budget will be due to us having to start meeting those mandatory requirements. So there will be additional training and firefighters, some of the firefighters have chosen to go to some of the regional training centers to do the training and acquire those certifications at a little bit faster pace than what we would do in-house.
Through the chair, I'm on page 9. If someone has a page 8 question, they go ahead first.
I'm just going to make a comment about enforcement, law enforcement. So you'll notice that the wage actually decreased, but that's because we split Marcel's wage between bylaw and the airport. So you'll see an increase in the airport and a decrease in bylaw, so that we split it 50-50.
I had a question on page 9, if someone else has. And I was wondering about, under transportation expenses, 242, from $700 roughly to $20,000. I was just interested in knowing what that was.
So it would be equipment.
To the chair, that is a new 930 category that we purchased. The bulk of that, $20,000 would be for winter tires for it, which come in around $16,000 winter tires.
Thank you.
Through the chair, just like the items like 104 down to 243, is that per piece of equipment? Is that okay? I'm just curious why it wouldn't be listed as of that. It's almost like this says miscellaneous, boom, miscellaneous.
We keep I can spread it over when we give those out. It's just to keep it cleaner. There are, again, equipment numbers. Like you're seeing like 102, 104, 112, 115. Those are our asset numbers, the internal numbers of the equipment for recording.
Okay, no, I understand. It's just that for us, it just says, equipment maintenance and repairs. It doesn't.
Yeah. Moving forward, if you like, we can add those into the sheet, or we can provide a separate cost center for you.
Well, even just like that would have been great, yeah. Just so we can kind of, because we know a loader is a lot more expense instead of a pickup truck type of thing. Yeah.
Through the chair, continuing on with the transportation expenses, why is there no budget for Clear diesel?
When we purchase diesel, we do charge it to that account, but as the equipment uses it, it gets charged towards the piece of equipment. So when you do see, say, for last year, $700 in that account, there's essentially $700 left of fuel in that tank. As it gets used, it gets charged to the equipment.
Oh, okay. But wouldn't you have to budget for it to be there in the first place?
We do a manual general voucher to take it from that, so it does get charged to that account, but it gets cleared out as it gets used.
Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm on page 11. Anybody have a page 10 question? No? So my question is the runway maintenance from 3,400 to 29,000. We just had the runway itself paved. I was just wanting to know about the 29,000.
But within that 29,000 runway maintenance, it doesn't just include the runway, it includes the lighting, the SOC, and the electrical, the fuel systems, supplies around that area. So runway as a whole.
So they're replacing.
There's some, ourselves unfortunately not here, but I do know there was some work you need done on the windsock, some lighting, some AWAS, minor repairs.
So it's all encompassing.
It's all encompassed under the function of the runway.
Through the chair, so regarding the lighting, I was under the understanding they replaced the runway lighting just a few years ago. Is this other lighting that you're referring to?
There's some other lighting, and some of that lighting does need repairs as well, and I believe some minor upgrading.
Okay. So through the chair, so I'm going to assume the list of equipment is just off to the side there?
Yes, correct.
If you could just expand that a little, please. Through the chair. So I guess the only question I have is about 102, the Ford F-150 from fire. Why is there an expense there or a budget there for $5,000? Can I get it?
Yeah, Marcel would like to, you know what, that's my apologies. No, that's the airport, that's the one that's coming from here, that's the white one that bylaw has. It is going to go to the airport, and it requires some new tires and some maintenance and a paint job to keep it in service at a respectable level.
Okay, so it's just the bylaw one
It's
that's
the
just
bylaw
being,
track,
okay.
yes.
All right, thank you.
What year is that one?
2008? It was in 18, it's 18, sorry. 18.
Huh?
The white bylaw truck?
It's an 18.
I really don't recall. Sorry.
So we're looking at spending $5,000
That is the
upgrade on a 12-year-old truck.
That is the request from February.
I'm not sure if it's an upgrade. I think it's just the annual maintenance. Fuel,
Yeah.
oil changes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so it's not a matter of, like he mentioned, paint job or something like that.
Through the chair, I believe you just mentioned general maintenance
Okay.
on the
General meeting.
vehicle.
Okay, no, that's fine. That makes sense.
Tire replacement.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Keeping it in a presentable manner.
Okay. No problem.
And through the chair, also, the pagers and radios, can I just assume that's an upgrade to the system? Or is that an incorrect assumption?
No, that is correct, and you're going to see that in each department. There's a request to replace and upgrade pagers and radios right across the board as we are doing upgrades within the municipality.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the new tractor that was purchased at the end of last year required radio to be installed in it.
Okay.
So that, because that was a purchase made in 2022, it's captured in this budget.
Yes.
And then when the bylaw truck is transferred over to the airport, that will also require a radio to be installed in it.
Okay, thank you.
Ready to move on?
Any other questions from the budget?
Through the chair, I'm on page 14. I have a question.
You're just flying through that.
What's that?
So you're just flying through that, aren't you?
Do you have a page 13 question, Counselor?
I'm just getting to that.
We'll come back, because I have a page 12 question.
Okay, well, there you go. You go, Kathy.
Back to page 12.
Yeah. Through the chair, so this is under the wastewater. So it says wastewater, other materials and supplies. So in 2020, it was only $2,000, but then in 2021, it went up to 10. And I see that it's budgeted for the same. Could there, what's the explanation for that, please?
Yes. No?
Through the chair, we do have some services that were need to be replaced, which has been accounted for. So it's one of those ones where you have, it's not normally going to be $10,000 per year, but we're kind of the services that need repaired this year.
Okay. And under the sewer pump house, salaries, because I'm just curious, because it was $5,000, now it's 12. Just curious on,
That would be the salaries for performing work within, so for the other materials and supplies, when you have to replace that, that would count the salaries for that.
oh, because it's not like somebody's not there regularly to,
Right.
okay. All right, thank you.
page 13?
Yes.
Through the chair. The professional fees consulting at $270,000 under garbage collection. I'm assuming that's the new recycling program?
Through the chair, that is correct. That's for that part. I've broken it up between both there and the landfill. We'll see that the two different professional fees. So, to the county proposal on for
Okay.
Councillor Rolola, would you like to go to page 14 now?
Well, I'm waiting for any page 13
I
questions
thought
to
that's where you were
continue.
at.
Yes, it was,
Okay, go
through the
ahead.
chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor. The question is, swimming pool, down near the bottom, 7,500 pool expenses, and it doesn't look like there's anything budgeted for the swimming pool. I was just wondering about that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is one of the areas that we need some direction from council on. So we have been actively recruiting lifeguards, and perhaps Katie can give a quick update on where we're at with that.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, I knew we could get away with leaving something blank and not having questions. But as you know, for the last 2 years, we've had difficulty recruiting lifeguards. With COVID closing us down the first year around, the second year around, we had difficulty finding lifeguards because their certification lapsed, and kids were unsure about the status of employment. So we left it blank because we are currently recruiting some students. We went to the high school this morning and we met with grade 11 and 12 students. And Todd BJ, our lifeguard instructor, gave a great presentation to try to entice these kids to join us this year. And so we do have a number of students who are interested in it. That being said, if council decides that yes, we want to go ahead and move forward with the pool, you will see an increase because training. So these kids are going, many of them are going to start at the beginning. So you do your bronze, cross your bronze medallion, and then you earn on that certification. In order to have that done, we would like to offer them the training. We'd like to cover the cost to ensure that we have staff on hand to operate the pool, and then to continue to operate the pool for future years. But we would also be looking at programming materials, purchasing books. There would be a rental fee for the pool in Marathon. We would have to see about renting their pool for the weekend. The bronze class, bronze medallion are both courses that require about 20 hours of training time. The NLS requires about 40 hours of training time. So we would require their space for a decent amount of time. And we're working with them right now to see if they can offer us a price, hoping that because we'll be utilizing it for so long, we can get a cost break. Also, from there, we'll see if we can recruit some folks from Paris Day, Michigan, other areas that are also looking for lifeguards, because this is a problem that is not just local. This is a problem all across the province. We're having a lifeguard shortage across the province. And many of the folks along the North Shore reached out to us in previous years asking us for lifeguards because they're hurting as well. So if we can rent that space, we can have them partner with us. That might help because it would help offset our costs. But really, we're looking for council's direction. We can provide you with some numbers once we have them in terms of what the cost is looking like, but it will be a significant increase based on those factors.
So you're waiting on everything else, maintenance, supplies, all the things that are required until such time as you know you have enough interest to go ahead. Is that it?
And also through you, Mr. Chair, the pool has not been operational for a couple of years because the water lines need replacement. And staff from Public Works, we tried to do some internal repairs over the past year, but it's still not operational. So there is some upgrades required to the pool. The costs are also unknown until we can get in there to have a look to see what it's going to take. So this is the direction that we require from council. So we have to do all kinds of training with staff, not even staff, with youth in the community. There's no guarantee that they will accept employment with the township once the training has been provided. We have to do upgrades to the pool. We can't get in there until the snow, ice, and frost have left. We have to have a qualified contractor do the work. And we don't know when or if that can be done. So that's why it's blank. And we need direction from council on what you would like to see happen.
So there's been no planning yet about looking at contractors? Has there been no movement on that part yet?
No, because we do not know what's required to complete the work.
So through the chair, so right now the status of the 50-year-old swimming pool is basically unknown.
Yes.
And is it worth fixing? So we don't have any idea right now.
Nope, none.
Well, that's
So the pool wasn't able to open for 2 years because of COVID.
Yeah, we were aware there was issues at the pool in the last few years, but I thought those issues were being repaired or at least looked at, or was that halted because of COVID?
We attempted repair in 2020, and once those repairs were made, found out that there were additional repairs required. We weren't able to open because of COVID anyway. In 2021, we attempted to do repairs in-house, and that did not fix the problem. So now we have to hire a contractor to find out what it will take to fix it. But they can't get in there until the snow and the ice is gone.
So through the chair, you looked at it a couple of times. So do we know what it is that needs the fixing?
Maybe Katie or Darren, if you could provide any more input into what that looked like last year.
To the chair, the repair that we tried to accommodate last year, we believe which was a leak there. It was going into the small pool, which caused it to basically come back for determine that didn't solve the issue. It looks like there is a further pipe issue inside the building. Very difficult to get to, but it is what I think it is. It's a relatively straightforward repair. It's just getting qualified people to come to do the work. Once I have direction from shore proceeding, we'll reach out to council and attorney come and do that work, or at least to give us a quote on it. Unfortunately, there is no one else in the area that qualified. I think the same firm, I believe, that did repairs back in
So through the chair, your best guess is it's within the building.
Yes.
We can maybe get at it a little sooner because it's potentially.
So the leak seems to be happening between the pump house and the bathing pool in that area there, and that's where we were having it come out. So we were everything was in motion last year. We were cleaning the pool, we were filling the pool, we were getting ready to get it up for operation without the lifeguards in place. And then that's when we discovered that there was a leak. Inside the pump house, there's a large, I don't want to call it a well, but there's a large pit of water, and it just kept plummeting. We weren't able to keep any water in there. So the leak is quite big. It's not a small leak. But I'm quite certain that in between the pump house and the baby pool.
That's where, from my estimation, that's where it's located. It looks to be relatively straightforward, but I'm not a mechanical plumber. Logically speaking, it looks fairly straightforward.
I was expecting it would be a replacement of that section of pipe. The question is there further damage that we're unaware of?
So through the chair, personally, my opinion is we do an exploratory as soon as we possibly can. If it turns out to be really bad, we relook at it maybe, but I'd like to see the exploratory happen as soon as the weather allows. And if it's in building, I'd like an attempt done anyway.
Are you looking for direction as to how much money we're willing to spend just to get somebody to come in to look at it?
Well, so there's two things. So this is going to impact the capital budget, whether it's a study or the capital cost to fix it, as well as operating costs, knowing that there's increased costs for training. And there's, again, no guarantee that we will have lifeguards at the end of that. And the annual cost to operate it. So,
Through the chair, could we not wait for a contractor to come do an assessment or approve a contractor to do that, to come in, check it out, see what he feels needs to be done, bring it back to council and make a decision from there?
So, I mean, there's a couple of things we can do. We can put the money in the budget, maybe with an upset limit of whatever council determines, and move forward with the budget knowing that we have X amount of money to work with. Or we can approve the budget without any capital work and then come back to council after the budget is approved and ask for additional funds. I'm not sure that we'll have a number for you before the end of April with regard to repair costs. That's the thing.
Through the chair, I agree with, let's go forward with it, but we still should get a cost, like an estimate for repair, which, I mean, that wouldn't be that much just to get the estimate, then we can go from there. See if it's worth putting into a, like I said, a 50-year-old swimming pool. Or is it time to start putting aside or looking at a whole new pool?
Through the chair, I do believe we invested a large amount of money into this pool over the years. I do not feel it would be a negative thing to try and get a contractor in, see what it needs, and then, again, go from there and make an assessment moving forward.
Yeah, definitely get a quote for repair, but I don't think that should hold up the budget.
You're saying that we should go ahead with the budget the way it is, and in the meantime, we should try to get at least an estimate of what a contractor would cost to come in and do an estimate.
Okay. So I just want to clarify, do you want us to put in the amounts to operate the pool in 2022 based on what we had budgeted for 2021? So that amount will be included in the request, the operating request for 2022?
Through the chair, I believe it would be a positive factor if you had it in as opposed to not having it in pending it's a low-cost repair or a low-cost solution, and we're able to move forward. It would prevent possibly more meetings and or more delays if we already approved it.
Okay.
Through the chair, I agree with the councillor that we budget for it. We give a best estimate on a fix, and if worst case scenario happens, we can talk about it again, but I think we should budget for it.
Okay.
Through the chair, I agree with my fellow councillors, but I do actually have a question for Katie. So you said you're still awaiting information from Marathon about costs for rental, and do you already have the book materials sourced?
We do, yeah, through the chair. So we can purchase those. We have an abundance of them left over, but should there be more interest than we anticipate, we can purchase those through the Life Saving Society, and no problem. The biggest cost would be the
rent
rental of the space.
Okay. So as soon as you have that, you will come to us with that and let us know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, it gives us a bit of time.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, still on page 14, in the park section, Chris, could you just show what 184 and 199 are, please? So miscellaneous is just another word for other?
Well, it's small, lawnmowers, whippersnippers,
Okay.
it's not,
Okay. So just general basic maintenance on those sorts of things. All right, thank you.
Okay, through the chair, page 15. Other revenue under the community center revenues. Budget is 70,000 when the actual was 1,000.
that was grant application for, that's a, that is for the accessibility grant for the ramp and one accessible washroom at the rec center. Is a grant of, once the work is completed, we submit proof of deferred payments and we'll receive the money back.
Okay. Okay.
Through the chair, under the same section, for the curling rink, the ice doesn't go in at the same time, but they pay the same fee every year. Is there a reason that the ice can't go in earlier there, like around the same time they put it in the arena? Because if they're going to pay the same fee for the year, I would think you would want to be able to use it the same amount of time.
So through the chair, just to clarify the question, you were asking if we could put the ice in curling sooner?
Well, I just wondered why it doesn't get put in like around about the same time they do it at the arena.
That's a great question. So again, it being my first year, I'm not entirely certain why it doesn't go in sooner. That being said, we're aiming to put it in sooner this year. It does depend on outdoor temperatures more than the arena itself. Our ice arena has more exterior exposure, and so it stays quite cool. And the curling arena doesn't seem to get quite as cold. So it's dependent on the temperature. Now it does get turned on the same time that the arena ice column will turn on. So it's something we can look into. We can look into getting it put in sooner. This year was a bit of an off year due to COVID and staff training, but we're looking forward to hopefully putting ice in both areas.
Okay, it's just like I see that as like if they're paying the same fee every year, I think they would appreciate being able to use it. Maybe not quite as long due to those circumstances, but a little longer than they have been in the last couple of years. Thank you for looking into that.
Yeah, through the chair, I totally agree. Councillor Hudson, the biggest complaint I hear from the public is, why do we have to wait so long for our ice, whether it be curling or arena? So if you can, if we can get that in a little sooner, I'm sure that would,
For sure.
really be nice to the community.
Through the chair, this year was a bit of an anomaly in terms of heat. So we intended to start our arena ice at the beginning of October this year. Simcoe asked us to delay it because we were still seeing temperatures of 20 degrees at that time, and it was too warm. Our facility is not made to stay cold. As you've noticed in the arena, the roof is quite high. It makes for more humidity. It's warmer, and so it's difficult to make ice in those temperatures. It's better to make ice when we're in the minuses, -10, those sorts of things, just based on the structure of our facility. So what we're seeing is that fall is warmer, and it keeps pushing, which is great for us as residents who want to stay outside and play, but it's difficult for us as recreation who want it to be colder faster. So that's one of the things that we're fighting is the seasonal warmth and temperatures, making it difficult to put ice in if you'd like to.
Thank you.
Through the chair, for the community center expenses, the beautification, I see there is no budget for it this year, but there was large budgets in previous years. What would be the explanation for that?
So through the chair, the beautification fund is actually the Main Street revitalization grant that we were approved of in 2018. So the years 2020 and 2021, we still had some money to spend that was left over, and so we budgeted for that. We've gone through the funding, and so that's over. The project is over, and we're no longer needing to.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Through the chair, Katie, with all that being said, in regards to the rec center, is it possible that we could reach out to a contractor or contracting company to see about maybe putting in some type of a subroof to maybe lessen the space in the rec center to provide a better service for the public?
Yeah, well, through the chair, I invite Lawrence or Darren to speak on that because they have some ideas on that as well.
Sure. Thanks. We're jumping ahead a little bit into the capital requests, but we did a study several years ago. TPT Engineering came in and assessed the conditions of the roof at the arena and the recreation center and provided us with Class D cost estimates on what would be required to replace them. As part of that work, it would be creating a ceiling in the arena and better insulation, as well as upgrading the HVAC system. So we have received a small grant, $100,000, to do the HVAC unit. And we have asked TPT Engineering to provide us with updated costs for the roof replacement as a means to write some grant applications, because I anticipate that the cost to the township would be 25%. We did write a grant several years ago, and the total costs of the roof replacement on both sides of the building, the HVAC upgrades and accessibility upgrades, came to just over $4 million. And that means the township's share would be $1 million of that project. And so what you'll see in the capital budget request is a transfer of $250,000 to start to build that account in anticipation of doing the work that you just suggested, Mike. And so that is the plan for the roof replacement at the arena, to extend the length of the ice season and to fix that humidity problem within the arena itself.
Thank you.
So through the chair, just to expand on that, does that include, as Councillor Scapanello suggested, lowering the inside of the roof as well?
Yeah, putting a ceiling in the arena.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Moffat, what page are you on?
16.
Okay, I'm on that page too.
Then you go first.
To the chair. Thank you. So Ski Hill expenses, I just have a question here. So the past couple of years, we've spent $80-some thousand on consulting, and I'm wondering why we have to do that again to the tune of 40.
So through the chair, we work with a company called Word on the lift installations, and the contract that we have with them covers a whole variety of things. So the cost of them, of this is for them to come report from meals and also providing us with services. Our ski lift mechanics are still ski lift mechanics in training, and under TSSA they're required to work with different classes of ski lift mechanics. So we need ski lift mechanics A, B, or C to work with them. We do not have those in-house. And so we use Ward Bond ski lift so we can have operational ski lift mechanics. We've got 2 ski lift mechanics here in town, so both of them fall under Ward Bond. So they provide the additional education sessions that are required to maintain their TSSA license. They provide us with our annual audit. They come every fall and they inspect our equipment to ensure that it's safe for operations for the next year. And they also come for snowmaking, so you'll notice that there's a difference in cost from last year to this year. They were down last year to come and teach our ski lift mechanics how to make snow. Now that they know, we are not requiring that service from them, so the cost won't be as high as it was in 2021. But they are a huge asset to us as a ski.
So this $40,000 cost is going to keep going and going?
So it'll take a few years for our ski lift mechanics in training to get their full license. It's become more of an apprentice program, so they have to accumulate hours in order to become SLMC, which is what we require for our road shows. So it'll be like that for some time until our ski lift mechanics can operate on their own, at which we can use our discretion if we decide that we want to continue in-house. We can. Our ski lift mechanics can absolutely do our audits in-house. That being said, if we decide to do that and there is something that goes wrong with our road code, that would be a liability on our shoulders because we've done the inspections instead of having a contractor do that service for us. But we can absolutely look at taking that cost away in a few years when our ski lift mechanics are fully qualified.
So training is under another line.
Yeah, so that's different.
Okay, never mind. But we did spend $65,000 on consulting last year. So I'm assuming our lift, this is mostly about our lift, that our staff received quite a bit of training to the tune of $65,000 last year. And the 40 is to complete the training?
So I'm going to go to the training line. So are you looking at the training development?
No, I'm looking at consulting.
Yeah.
Yeah, training and development is another line altogether.
Yeah, because that one's a bit different, the training and development line. What we're looking to do this year with our staff is have them go through the Canadian Ski Patrol training, which we think is crucial to operation. So there's that cost, as well as bringing our ski mechanic, potentially the lock woman, to do some training on the room to learn how to still make locks and provide a little more fun for our users. But that doesn't tie into our professional consulting fees at all.
Through the chair, looking at the, we looked at all the expenses for the ski hill, now the revenue. Those numbers are fairly low compared to the expenses. Now, what is the growth year to year as far as people coming in from out of town, the people in Manitouwadge? Are there more and more people using it or less and less?
So, through the chair, I can absolutely get those stats for you. We track them, so I can get those stats for you if you're looking for them, and I can send them your way. Again, this year was a bit of an anomaly without the chalet. We did see similar revenues as we did in the previous operational year. What I would like to do, the direction I would like to take this year would be to promote our ski hill more in summer, fall, winter season, and push marketing along the North Shore. As you're aware, we're so fortunate to have the ski hill where we do, and not many places along the North Shore are completely the same. I think that we can get more of those folks, but we should increase our marketing.
Right, and that's my whole point is, it's all great to have a ski hill here, but, if it's not being used by enough people, hate to see it go, but at the same time, we need to see some growth in there, is my thoughts. So.
Through you, Mr. Chair, one of the items identified in the economic development budget is to undertake a feasibility study for the ski hill and an associated grant that would cover 50% of those costs. But the feasibility study will look at the year-round operation of the ski hill, as well as the replacement of the chalet. And the study will come back to council for your consideration and determination of what council would like to do in the coming years, whether it's a capital budget, looking at other types of year-round operation. So the feasibility study will give you a much better picture of what can happen out there and what it would cost to replace the chalet.
Thank you.
And my last point, through the chair, about efficiencies and things like this, and are we seeking grant opportunities for recreation? Have we looked at the Trillium Foundation as an example? That sort of thing to help out with this.
Yes, absolutely. Through the chair, we're keeping our eyes on all of the different funding opportunities moving forward.
Through the chair, Chris, if you could just, for those pieces of equipment, please and thank you. Through the chair, so the costs that are there are just basic maintenance costs? Okay, thank you.
With regard to page 17 and the clubhouse, just to let council know that we did receive 3 expressions of interest for a private operator at the clubhouse restaurant. And so we have met with them. We are working with one individual and have asked them to provide us with their direction on whether they'll be proceeding with the lease agreement with us. In the absence of that, the township will again operate the clubhouse. And so we've left the operational costs in there as if we were operating it, but that could change. And we'll know better by the middle of April.
Through the chair, regarding library revenues, Beth, I see that you have other provincial revenues. Could you give an explanation on what those would be?
For other revenue?
Yes, please.
So that's just going to be some smaller grants we're applying for, and some, quite often our other revenue is just income statements, book sales, use of our printer and different equipment, and other costs, recovery things that we do through a bigger craft that we collect the revenue for, or anything like that.
Okay, so for the other provincial revenues, what would that be?
So our other provincial revenue is our operating grant every year. So our provincial library operating grant, and it's stayed the same since the 90s. that just is what it is. There's no change with it.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I'm on page 19. If anybody has page 18 questions, go ahead. No. Does this mean we're not doing building permits?
No, through you, Mr. Chair, we've taken a look at the historical number of permits that have been issued. There were 6 issued in 2021. I think there were 10 in 2020 and 13 in 2019. So we'll do an average and put a number in there. But the other unknown is the contracted service for building official. So I'm working with an engineering company who will provide that service to us, and I'm just waiting for their quote, and then we can complete this part of the budget, what that will cost. We are starting to get requests for building permits already, and I do anticipate we will receive more than 6 building permits this year, in association also with the number of land sales that we've had in 2021 and already this year.
So we're anticipating just hiring for what we need done, and that's it. Whether
That's right.
That person comes in from White River, Marathon, or wherever.
Right. So a lot of the work can be done online, and then working with our own internal staff to be the eyes and the boots on the ground, working with the engineering service.
Through the Go ahead. Sorry, Dave. Through the chair. So there had been some talk of possibly sharing a building inspector with other communities on North Shore because they're all struggling to find one. Has anything come of that, or is this the route that most of them are taking, is just going with an engineering firm?
So we did reach out to Wawa, and they've stated that their CBO is quite busy and not able to provide assistance to us because they also cover off by law enforcement as well. The town of Marathon is still recruiting a new CBO, and so the plan, our long-term plan, would be to contract with them. But until they have someone in place, we have to make our own way temporarily.
So does that mean that we don't plan to attempt to recruit one, or this would just be the easier route because there's other communities looking at it as a struggle right now?
Well, it's based on the number of permits that we've issued in previous years. Doesn't warrant a full-time position.
Okay.
Through the chair, now saying that, if there's no building inspector around, who's policing the actual people building stuff?
Well, we hope to have that service in place in the next few weeks. So we will work very closely with them on policing. So we have 2 bylaw enforcement officers, and we'll be counting on local knowledge and enforcement as well to see what's going on in the community.
Okay. Thank you.
So through the chair, on page 20, we have economic development expenses. So my question is, Florence, you had been our economic development officer, but who is now?
So Katie is the Director of Community and Economic Development.
Okay.
And we have split her wage between recreation and economic development, so that's why you'll see the increase in the wage there for 2022, so that's a 50-50 split. Under grants, we'll be applying for an intern through NOHFC to assist with marketing and development of the community. And under other revenue, that's where you'll see the costs of a feasibility study for the ski chalet and ski hill.
Okay, through the chair, the budget of $50,000 for consulting. That's more consulting. Is that something specific?
Yeah, that's for the study. The ski hill, ski chalet.
Okay, so it's under the economic development. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you say that again? I'm sorry. Didn't we have?
So that would be covered, that $50,000 would be covered under what we discussed earlier?
Yes.
Would it not?
Yes, exactly.
So there's no reason to...
We had 40 there. I am confused.
So the 40,000 under the ski hill is for Ward Bond, who we have to operate under for TSSA purposes. If we didn't have that agreement with him, we wouldn't be able to operate the ski hill at all.
But under the economic development, that 50,000 there is also for the ski hill.
Right. It's a feasibility study.
Feasibility study.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, through the chair, the feasibility study, when is that? That was done, correct? There was one done years ago.
Yes.
But it's way...
Maybe 20 or 30 years ago. Right.
So this new study is taking place...
Right. So when that study was done, it was to look at the year-round operation of the facility. This feasibility study will look at that also, but also the replacement costs of the chalet because of its current condition. So there is information in that old study that will be helpful to a consultant. But taking the information from our parks, facilities, and trails master plan, and as well as the community revitalization, there's a lot more information identified in those studies that will assist us in being able to look at what is feasible for a year-round operation.
Through the chair, my memory isn't very good. I thought I heard somewhere, and I don't know if that was that old study, talked of the possibility of privatizing. Somewhere I saw something about that.
Yes, in the Recreation Parks and Facilities Master Plan, there was reference to privatizing municipal operations if we can't make them financially sustainable. And the two areas that they suggested we look at over a period of years is the ski hill and the golf course.
Thank you. I knew
But they have asked us to do our best, or the recommendation is that we do our best to operate them in a sustainable manner for a period of 5 years and then reassess at that time.
Sorry, I have one more question on page 20.
Go for it.
Through the chair, community marketing from 3,800. Why are we going to 20,000?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we had identified quite a bit of money in 2021 to further market our new logo. And we took a step back with purchasing and installing new banners for the downtown core and the main entranceway. So the majority of those costs that you'll see are the banner program and assisting the marketing intern with promotional materials. So you'll see that in 2021 we actually didn't spend a lot of money on marketing, but we've put the money there again to be able to do that.
That's the community revitalization
Yes,
committee or program?
right.
Okay. Are we on to 21 now? Okay. Okay. I have a couple things I'm curious about on this page. Is one, it doesn't look like the Public Works has very much in the budget. And another thing, I don't know if I missed it or what, but how much are we putting towards our roads and our streets? I didn't see that anywhere in the budget.
So through you, Mr. Chair, we have received funding through the gas tax fund for road upgrades, but we have not identified an area within the community outside of a specific grant that we've applied for. And the grant isn't captured here because it's not approved yet. But we did make an application last year for a $5 million upgrade to the water and wastewater system on a stretch of Manitou, and that would include road upgrades associated with that. And it's from probably in front of the old senior center right through to the roundabout. So that's what $5 million will get you right now, is that stretch, very small stretch. So we hope to have approval on that project in the coming months and be able to start planning that from an engineering and design perspective, and then with construction in 2023. So I think we're going to have to piece that stretch of Manitou together in a number of different applications because $5 million doesn't go very far. And we can't replace roads without looking at the underground infrastructure. And as you know, we've had many, many water breaks this year. So the projects, road, sewer, and wastewater are all very expensive. So we'll be looking for grant opportunities to upgrade the various sections of the town that require that. We have heard back from the Minister of Infrastructure that they've accepted our delegation request at OGRA late in the middle of April. And the Mayor and Darren McKenzie will be there requesting assistance for sewer, water, and road infrastructure funding. So
Okay,
it's a
but
very
how-
large cost.
Okay, but how about, I don't see anything in here for road repair as for the various speed bumps around town and sections that need basically immediate attention.
I see Darren ready to jump in to answer that.
Okay, there we go.
Through you, Chair. We still have what was not completed last year. So we still have those parts that are still outstanding. Any of the ones that are going to be working through with both Aqua on condition of the water main and sewer in those areas to determine can we just repave, or do we have to go full depth and do the infrastructure underneath as well? So that's all part of the CCD unit with Aqua, all part of the other in-ground surveys to help us build out what we have going forward. We also do have the gas tax, we also have the infrastructure money that we receive, and then $4,000 every year that will go towards some of that funding once we have identified what we want to do. short term, we'll be having a lot of coal patching to at least get the potholes fixed. Any areas that are larger, we still have money in our sphere that we can accommodate.
So you're saying that there will be paving done early this spring, summer?
Provided the snow leaves, yes.
And through the chair, my question would be, do you have enough? I don't see enough with all the issues you've been having.
To the chair, when I look at things for the budget, I have to look at my own department, but I also look at the corporation in its entirety. Where are the needs mostly required? And I may not have put in for a larger project this year, or put money towards it, because I also have to put money towards equipment here, operate. So I'm relying on funding that will come through to help fix the piecemeal in the short term. So it's just something to get it more granular and keep more substantial.
Thank you.
But sorry, through the chair. I don't see anywhere in the capital here that you put in for anything for equipment.
Oh, that's actually under, in public works, you'll see transfer to equipment reserve 50,000.
Okay,
And that's to start.
so that's to push forward.
Yep, to start building that reserve, so if a piece of equipment goes down, we'll have that instead of having to go out and get a compactor at the landfill. That brand new is $850,000, that we're not going to put that up on the shelf.
Okay. Sounds good. Anybody else?
Through the chair, so you said every year there's $94,000 put away going towards the infrastructure. Where does that reflect in here that we would know where it's at?
There.
I think that's under administration.
It's under, yeah. Computer's slowing down for some reason. So there's $368,195 coming from OCIF and $122,864 from gas tax, which goes into deferred revenue. And as it gets utilized, it'll be reflected as an expense.
Thank you.
Still my turn? Through the chair. Okay, now going down towards the recreation capital. I'm seeing Martin Park revitalization and also Barnett playground installation. I mean, we're looking at $70,000 to put towards the parks. Personally, I think since the parks have been down for so long, maybe do one a year instead of both. Just kind of think we should stretch it out. Just seems a lot of money to put into a park when we haven't done it for many years.
Through the chair. I'm glad you raised that topic, Councillor. Barnett Playground, it's my understanding that there's a number of young families in that area. And I'm completely supportive of that. I will not support Martin Park revitalization for a couple of reasons. One is the number of young families in the area. Secondly, it's a 5-minute walk from the skate park. I do believe that with our heads put together with the skate park committee, we could maybe do some enhancements at the skate park for little ones, a couple little pieces of equipment, maybe an extra bench for the adults to watch their kids, but I won't support the revitalization of Martin Park, because I feel it's just not needed. They're a 5-minute walk from a place where kids congregate, and we should put the money where it's best used.
Just further to that, Florence and I visited all of the parks last year. One of the things that I undertook 2021 was getting my playground inspector's course. So we visited all of the playgrounds to see what needed work and what needed to go. We knew that Martin Park was scheduled to be demolished. That being said, upon visiting all of the parks, Martin Park was the busiest. There were several families and children in that area that were playing, and many of them told us that was their favorite park. So just food for thought. Ultimately, we're happy to use your direction, but just for your information, it was the busiest.
Through the chair, I do believe that more parks in our community are better than fewer parks. I mean, diversity and children at different age groups play in different areas, and having, a choice to play in different places is a great opportunity, in my opinion.
To the chair, I see nothing wrong with parks. I just see the main areas that our kids have been concentrating, Lions Beach and Skate Park. I mean, enhancing those, wouldn't it be more economically make sense? I don't know. We can revisit this at a later time.
Through the chair, in regards to the Barnett Park, Katie, I myself have been approached by a few families, and the reason they don't go to the park is they don't feel that it's safe enough for their kids to play it.
Through the chair, that is an accurate assessment of the park. It should be demolished. That being said, we are working to purchase some equipment. There was funds in the reserve for that has been utilized, and so what you're seeing here for cost is the remainder of the installation. So that's for the company to come and turnkey installation. That's also for them to install the engineered wood fibering for the base of it rather than the stem. So the cost that we're asking for is to finish that project so we can complete a new park.
Okay, thank you.
The other area I'd like to get some direction from council on under recreation, so you'll see the recreation center upgrades, reserves, roof replacement. We haven't allocated any money in there. But the capital request is to move $250,000 from the infrastructure replacement reserve account to the community center reserve account so that we can start to plan for the roof replacement and have our share of those project costs. So instead of asking for the funds from the tax base, I'm asking that there be a transfer from reserves, one reserve to another. And we can do that formally at a council meeting, but we wanted to just flag this, that we need to set some money aside for the roof replacement, because if our share is going to be $1 million, that's a big ask in 1 year.
So right now here you've got nothing to...
Right.
Okay.
Because, so the question is, do we want to take it from this year's taxation or take it from a reserve account, knowing that it's $250,000?
If it's in the other reserve account, I guess that's what we should take.
Yeah, the other reserve account is at $2.6 million right now.
Through the chair, I have no problems with taking it from the reserve account.
No.
From there to there.
Through the chair is
Pretty healthy.
taking it away from infrastructure?
So it's an infrastructure improvement reserve account. And right now it's, about 2.7 million. So it would be transferring 250,000 of those funds into the community center reserve account.
Through the chair, I think it's a good idea to start building that, so then when they do come, if we do get the grant, we can say, yes, here's the money, and it doesn't hurt the tax base.
Through the chair, I see it in one way, but in another way, if this reserve you're pulling from is for infrastructure and improvement, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs improving. So are we not hurting one reserve to help another one?
Well, the thing about that reserve account is it doesn't really specify any one particular type of infrastructure. So the recreation center is infrastructure.
Okay. And you're looking at, you said 250,000?
Yes.
This is just a thought, but at the NWMO community revitalization, there's almost $1 million there.
Yes.
That is supposed to go for the better of the whole community. If it's for the recreation center, wouldn't that qualify to be?
Yes.
So I'm thinking we take it out of that fund, 250,000 out of there to move in.
That would also be fine. That's
That's my
council's wish.
thinking.
Through the chair, I completely agree. Take it out of nuclear waste and leave infrastructure.
For this time, I'm just thinking that's,
Yeah, and there's nothing in the NWMO agreement that says you can't use it for that.
That's correct.
It has to be for the betterment of the whole community,
Fine, so that's what.
which, I mean, that's my thoughts.
So through the chair, not that it's a bad idea, but the money that was first suggested was already money put aside for infrastructure with the money from the MWMO. Yes, it's for our community, but it allows you to use it for various things as opposed to maybe possibly our infrastructure money, we're limited to what we can do with that. Is that a fair statement?
There's a wider use for the nuclear waste management funding. I mean, infrastructure is for infrastructure. You're correct.
Through the chair, that's my only concern, but not a bad idea.
Because it's, I mean, we have almost $1 million sitting there now, and I mean, yes, we gave all the residents some money for COVID out of that fund, but it's like, you know, it's money to be used up for the community. So I'm thinking it's good to send it towards the recreation center.
Agree?
No concerns? No?
I'm good.
Okay.
Either way, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. Okay. So all in all, we're getting. What's the last page?
Through the chair.
There's more?
This would be regarding fire department. So there's two items there, the snowmobile and trailer and a new car, the chief's vehicle. So could you please give an explanation on both of those?
Yes, through the chair, the snowmobile and trailer that the fire department is currently using, the snowmobile is 20 years old
Oh.
and is somewhat unreliable. So I think it's a good time to replace it with a new sled. And the trailer that they are using for that sled is actually a utility trailer and isn't very practical to be used for towing around the snowmobile and the rest of the lot. So I'm asking for a proper snowmobile trailer, a covered one, so that we can store both snowmobiles on the trailer and leave them on the trailer until they're needed, and then they can actually be stored that way as well. So save time, money, and energy to store and get the sleds ready in the fall, as well as putting them away in the spring. And as far as the car one, the current chief vehicle it's not appropriate to be called an emergency vehicle. It does not even have siren on it. So a new vehicle would be spec'd out with proper lights and sirens, as well as being able to carry equipment that the current vehicle right now cannot do.
Okay, so regarding the snowmobile, are you planning to keep the old one as well until it is no longer usable and have
Yes.
the new one there That way, in case you do need both, they're there.
That is correct, yes.
All right, and regarding the chief's vehicle, is it just planned to repurpose the one that exists now into possibly another use within the township?
Yes, that vehicle is, I believe, is going to the bylaw park, I believe.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So through you, Mr. Chair, you'll see under airport, it should be bylaw, a $19,000 budgeted cost. So what we did was we split up the total cost for a new truck between fire and bylaw, and then the transfer of the existing fire chief's truck to bylaw, and then you already saw the transfer of the existing bylaw truck to airport. So all the vehicles will remain within the township, but it's a transfer between departments.
Anything further? Is there another page? Or? What is this bad last page?
So after all is said and done, we're still looking at 0%?
As it's presented to you today through the chair, you're looking at a zero increase. A slight decrease, a $45,000 property might see, she would like to see a decrease of about $1.51 at this point.
So I think that would make the residents of Mount Fort very happy.
So there's a few areas where we will make adjustments. We'll add in the operational cost for the pool. We'll do the transfer for the roof replacement.
That'll be through bylaw.
Okay. And then, so, Your Worship, you have some resolutions in front of you. Staff are ready to present the budget to the public and seek public consultation if that is what council wishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councilor Stampanello, seconded by Councilor Rowland. Resolved that council has been received the first draft of the 2022 municipal operating budget, and further that the council directs staff to seek public input on the proposed 2022 municipal operating budget, and further that council requests staff to post notice of a special meeting of council at 1 p.m. on Thursday, April 21st, 2022, to answer any questions raised by the public during the 2-week consultation period. And further that it is council's intent to pass the 2022 municipal operating budget on Thursday, April 21st, 2022, at a special scheduled meeting of council. All in favor? Thank you. Moved by Councilor Moffat, seconded by Councilor Campanello, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the Township of Manitowoc at its meeting held on Thursday, March 31st, 2022, be read a first and second time. And furthermore, be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2022-19. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Roll, seconded by Councilor Moffat. Resolved the special meeting adjourned at the hour of 2:37. All in favor?